I have some yummy pears, and what am I going to make with it but some salted caramel pear butter. And I weighed this, I have about 14 pounds. So the first thing we got to do to get started is we're going to cut off the top, we're going to cut off the bottom, and I'm going to cut it into 4 sections. And just take your knife, and since it's so ripe, it is so easy to do. It's not so ripe though that these are soft. These still have a firmness about them. So we're going to cut this into bite-sized pieces. And we're going to do this with all of them, and we're just going to fill this up. And then we're going to go to the next step. Okay, I'm on the last one, and I know this looks kind of full, and it is full, but just because it's that size now, this is all going to cook down. So when I get this last one in here, this lid is going to be up a little bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a foil over it to get it started until it starts cooking down. So let me get this last one in. And these smell so good. They're nice and ripe. I tell you, I made the mistake of trying another batch of this without having fresh peaches. I got them from the grocery store. Do not make that mistake if possible, unless you know that when you buy them that they're already ripe, because I had gotten some, I ordered a whole case of them, and it did not turn out right. So every ingredient is an important ingredient, especially your main fruit that you're going to be using for your butter. Right now it is the season for pears through this month, and it's also for apples. So this is prime time to get out there and buy your fresh fruit so you can make your butter. Now that we have this ready, the next thing we're going to need to do is pull out some lemon juice and some apple juice. All right, let's start with the apple juice. And we are going to need, for this amount, a couple of tablespoons. Okay, and for the apple juice, we're going to use 1/3 of a cup. And since I only have a little bit left, I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. It's not going to hurt anything. This is just a simple recipe that I have adjusted for the amount of pear that I have. Now next, we're going to need 2 options. If you have brown sugar, you're going to need a cup and a half, and then if you don't have brown sugar, which I don't use brown sugar because I always have the molasses, I'm going to go ahead and do a cup and a half of plain cane sugar. And I'm going to just sprinkle this over the top. It'll fall down in there. And I am not really concerned, like I said, because this is going to cook down. All right, so we're set with the sugar. And then we need 2 teaspoons of salt. Let me go ahead and grab the salt. And I like to use the pink Himalayan salt for everything that I do. We're going to do 2 teaspoons of that. Now the last thing I have is molasses listed, but what I want to do is just get this situated. And I could have used the roaster, but the problem, if I would have used the roaster, it wouldn't have really even taken up half of it because I have a really big roaster. So this is good for now. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it. We got it turned on. I'm going to go ahead and set this on high. We're going to set it for 4 hours, but I'm going to periodically check this and make sure that this is breaking down. And as soon as it breaks down more, then I can go ahead and stir it and get it mixed up. But otherwise, this is fine. And you know what? I'm not even going to worry about putting the foil on here because it closes pretty tight. Once we get this situated, I'm going to come back in, let's say, a half hour to an hour. I'll let you know what it is. We'll stir this and then we'll see. All right, it has been an hour and it is starting to break down. I can smell it. And the sugar is starting to dissolve. It's just going to take a little longer because of being so packed. But I know that it is heating up and it's cooking. So I'm going to just flip this over. And bring some of it from underneath. That'll work for now. We're going to put the lid back on. And it's almost down to where it's equal, where it should be level with this. So we're moving in the right direction. It's just going to take a little bit longer because I packed this full. But we're going to go ahead and give it another hour. We're going to come back and check it on then. And then I'm going to put the temperature down maybe a little bit. And it's going to go overnight for me to can in the morning. And it's been another hour. And this is really coming along now. So I am going to work on bringing the bottom up so these top ones can get down there. This way too, I'm bringing some of the liquid from the bottom of the roaster. Just be careful so it doesn't spill. So the hot liquid or the sugar doesn't get onto your hands either, because that can burn you. And I can see the liquid down there. Let me get some See, I can go ahead and look how much it's already come down. This smells so good. So at this point, I'm going to put the lid back on. I have it on high. I think what I'm going to do, it's after 9 o'clock. Let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5. I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it at the setting that it's at now. I'm not going to add any molasses because it's not broken down as much as I want it to be able to mix that molasses in. And we're going to call it a night. And I'll see you back here in the morning. And I forgot, it was early this morning, it's about 5:30. I forgot to put the mic on for the other. So on here, I'm going to go ahead and go over the last part. So what we've done is we've added in 3 teaspoons of the molasses, stirred it in, and then I'm going to let this, I put it back on high, I'm going to let this go, let it evaporate some of the liquid that's in it. Then while I'm doing that, I'm going to get the canning ready. I'm going to get some water on so I can sterilize the cans. I'm going to get my steamer ready, and then I'll come back and we're going to blend this up so it's nice and smooth. And then we're going to taste it one more time and make sure if we need to add anything, that's the point we're going to add any more molasses if we find that we need that flavor to be a little bit richer. These are the 2 jars that are available to you. These are the pints. There is a small mouth or there's a wide mouth. And the difference between these is just getting product in and out. So if it's something that you need easy access to, then this is the route to go. If it's something like spaghetti sauce, something that you're pouring out, you can easily just use this and not have any problems with it. Pickles are another thing to do in the wide mouth. That works out really well. But the difference in price really is, I haven't found around this area that it's any different. The last thing I recommend getting for a new canner is Home Preserving. This is a complete book from Ball, and this helps because even in the back it gives you explanations of specific things, and this will help to teach you, and then you have a reference that you can go back to again and again and again. And you can find this on Amazon, you can find this in your local bookstores. This is a pretty popular book and I do recommend it. Now for sterilizing, you can do 2 things. This morning, since I don't have a whole lot of time, I'm going to go ahead and put some boiling water, and then I'm going to dip these down into that, and then they'll be sterilized. The other option you have is to go ahead and put them into your dishwasher, and then that can sterilize them all at one time. And I did do that the other day. I had Tim put them in. They were ready when I came home, and I was able to do some canning. The other things you're going to need to make sure when you're buying jars, you can buy them just the jars, or you can get, like this came with the rings. So you're going to need to make sure you have a ring and the pressure lid that when it goes on, this is actually what is going to seal the jar so that you can store this for long periods of time. The water's boiling. Now, if you were doing canning in a full water bath, this is what you'd be looking for. You need to have the water boiling. You also need to know the altitude of your area, and that's going to determine how long you process these jars under the water or in the steam. On a steam canner, sorry about the steam, there is a gauge, and that gauge is what's going to tell you if you're ready. There's different color areas that will show you where the needle needs to be for your area of altitude. And then once it gets up into that area, like mine's the green, once it gets up into there, then that's ready for the canning process. So the first thing we're going to do is dip our cans, or our jars I should say, into the boiling water to sterilize them. And always do more than what you think so that you're prepared to have it. It's better to have more jars sterilized and ready than to not have enough and then have to go back and sterilize more. So let's get this process going. This sounds simple to somebody who's been canning, but I'm talking to a lot of those that are new to canning. When you're using one of these, make sure that the rubber part is actually down. That's what is going to grip those jars and not slip out of your hands. Thing we're going to do is take these lids and put them in the warm water to get them ready for canning. Also, the jars come up to temperature when you put them into the boiling water as well. I didn't want to be bothered with getting my bigger pot out. If you do put all of the jars in the pot, you need to make sure that you have a tray on the bottom, or a rack I should say, and that keeps the jars from being right on the bottom of the surface, because your jars can crack if you put them. So when you're canning in a water bath canning, you need to make sure you have a rack that's going to lift them up from the fire at the bottom of the surface. All right, we are ready. So the last step we're going to do, I'm going to show you how to blend this up and smooth it out. And remember I said we're going to taste it one more time. Perfect. We don't have to add anything to it. It's just the right amount of everything. We're going to go ahead and get started, getting these in the jars. And the other thing I need to mention to you is headspace. And in your recipes, it usually does tell you the headspace. But the bottom line, this is a 1/2 inch and this is a 1/4 inch. We're going to go ahead and do a 1/2 inch headspace. And always use your funnel. And then we need to scoop that in. like to ladle it in. Always make sure that everything is sanitized. Keep your counters clean. All the things that you're going to be using, keep those clean as well. And if we need to go back and add anything to it, we can, but right now we just need to get these all filled. You need to work pretty quickly, but not so quickly that you have an accident happen and you get burned. Just be careful. Now the last step before putting the lids on is making sure you wipe these off. I did drip it on there, so you keep a clean cloth, and then you can also make sure that the tops are nice and smooth, there isn't any chips. And this will do a good seal then. You need to make sure there's no food in between the jar itself and the lid. Okay, now we're going to put these on. And one thing too is to make sure that you run either a knife or something just to make sure there's no bubbles, air pockets on the sides. Then go ahead and put the lid on. And short too. Now we're going to put the rings on, and we're only going to do this finger tight. Now you have to wait for that to come back up, just as if you were putting the jars in a water bath. where the jar is completely under the water boiling. You have to wait till that water comes back up to a boil before you can count the time. And this has to come back up into the green zone for me to be able to count it. So it's going to take a little bit of time, not that long, because I already had the water boiling, to come back up, because you need to make sure temperatures are up and that the jar is going to, including the product in the jar, is going to be heated up to the boiling point for your altitude. So you have to read a little bit. That's why I recommend getting that book, because that's going to teach you all about it in the back. If you have any questions, make sure and comment below, and I'll answer you to the best of my ability. Also, for those new canners out there, because I know I have a lot of young viewers, and this is all new to you. So you need to make sure that you look up which things can be water bath canned and what has to be pressure canned. I mostly do, well actually I do all steam canning or water bath canning. I don't have a pressure cooker, so I can't do things like meat or vegetables, things like that. I stick strictly with pickling or fruit butters. I do some fruit in some simple syrup. So do your homework. I'm just giving you a basic outline of some simple canning things that you can do. Alright, that's back up to the zone it needs to be in. We're going to put the timer on, and we're going to set this for 10 minutes. The timer's up. We're going to turn this off. Always take the lid off away from you because of that steam. Set it aside. We're going to wait 5 minutes, and then we're going to move the jars over to the counter. 5 minutes are up. We're going to go ahead and get these over. Most of them have already popped. There's a part on the lid, and I know it's hard to see, but it's raised up. And after you can, that little raised area, if it's done right, as this cools, that will actually go down and you'll hear a pop. And if you're using the water bath and there's water on the top, don't worry about tilting it. You carry them straight up and down. That water will evaporate off the top. Now we're going to put these last ones in. Put the lid back on. Turn the fire back on. And we're going to bring this back up to temperature. When the gauge is on the green that my altitude is supposed to have, then I'm going to count 10 minutes. If you've liked this video, make sure to click the subscribe so you're not going to miss any of my other videos coming up. And I'm going to try, I'm making a promise to you, I'm going to try to get on a regular schedule, because my schedule, my personal schedule, is starting to ease up just a bit. So I'm going to see you on the next video, and you have a great day.